Welcome to day 27 of Unit 5. This is using engineering and technology to sustain our world. My name is Ms. Mack, and let's get into today's independent work. In this video, we are going to do the independent reading together. Then I'm going to walk you through and give you time for the gallery walk. And then at the end of the video, after the video has ended, you'll have some time to do the rest of your independent work. So let's jump into the independent reading right now. Before we get started, actually, pause this video, get a pen or a pencil and some paper, or pull up your independent work on your slides that look like this. All right, hopefully you have something to take down notes with. If that is your slides, fantastic. If that's a pencil and paper, fantastic. Please read along as I read. Sound waves, reflection, absorption, and transmission. Adapted from How Obstacles Affect Sound Waves by Rob Curtis, 2007. When a sound wave meets an obstacle, some of the sound is reflected back from the front surface, and some of the sounds passes into the obstacle material where it is absorbed or transmitted through the material. So we have some sound, it's traveling. When it meets an obstacle, some of the sound bounces off and some of the sound passes through. So that is what that first sentence is saying. Next sentence, reflection and absorption are dependent on the wavelength of the sound. The percentage of the sound transmitted through an obstacle depends on how much sound is reflected and how much is absorbed. Pause this video, write down your notes from this section. All right, hopefully you have some notes down. Let's move on to the next section. Reflection. When a sound wave in air reaches the surface of another material, some of the sound is reflected off the surface. For example, when sound hits a wall, some is reflected and some passes into the wall. Smooth surfaces are best. If the surface that the sound wave hits is relatively smooth, more sound will be reflected than if the surface is rough. For example, more sound will be reflected from a smooth wall made of mud than a pile of dirt. The reason is that the rough or porous surface allows for many internal reflections, resulting in more absorption and less reflection. Echoes. When sound reflects off a smooth, flat surface, an echo or reproduction of the sound can be heard. Echoes are more noticeable if the surface is far enough away to allow for a time lag between when the sound is made and when it is heard. So think about, I want you to write down in your notes, how does reflection work? What surfaces are best for reflection and why? And then how do echoes work? So pause this video, take down your notes. All right, hopefully you have your notes down. Let's move on to the next part. Follow along as I read. Sound waves continued, reflection, absorption, and transmission. As sound travels through any material, there is some loss due to absorption. Since sound is a regular vibration of the atoms or particles in a material, some of the energy of the sound wave is lost due to particles colliding with each other. That lost sound energy is turned into heat energy. Absorption in air. The amplitude of a sound wave traveling through air not only becomes less as it spreads out, but some of its energy is lost due to absorption. The amount of energy lost to heat is related to the frequency of the sound wave. For example, if you yelled as loud as you could, someone 1 mile away probably could not hear you, even under the best of conditions. On the other hand, an elephant can make a low frequency rumbling sound that can be heard by other elephants more than 5 miles away. Absorption in different materials. Some materials absorb sound more than others. Often in music recording studios, you will see lots of sound absorbing materials on the walls to eliminate or get rid of any undesired or outside sounds when recording a song. Stop and think. If you are next to a car with the radio playing very loud music, why do you usually hear the low thumping bass more clearly than the singing? Pause this video, take down your notes, and answer the stop and think question. All right, next section, transmission. Transmission of sound occurs as a sound wave enters another material. A sound wave in air can be transmitted through a wall of a house. Similarly, sound can enter water and be transmitted through the liquid. Think about when you're in a swimming pool and you go underwater and you scream as loud as you can. Can you hear those sounds that you're making when you're underwater? Yeah. However, the amount of sound transmitted depends on the material. Think about speaking through air versus speaking through water. That's a difference in material. For example, if someone shouts underwater, it is difficult to understand the words being spoken, but the sound can travel much further and faster underwater than it would in the air. Stop and think. Under normal conditions, air is a gas and water is a liquid. Why do you think sound travels faster through water than through air? And I will give you a hint. Think about the atoms in the gas versus atoms in the liquid. Pause this video, take down your notes, and answer the stop and think question. All right, let's move on. When a light wave encounters an object, they are either reflected, absorbed, or transmitted depending on the composition of the object and the wavelength of the light. So now we are talking about light waves, not necessarily sound waves, but think about sound waves and compare and contrast while we're reading this section. Reflection is when incident light, incoming light coming towards something, hits an object and bounces off. Think about reflection. You know what reflect means. Very smooth or shiny surfaces, such as a mirror, reflect almost all incident light. When light is reflected, none of the incident light matches the vibrating frequency of particles making up the material it hits. You can see this when normal sunlight, light made of just the rainbow of colors, bounces off a plant leaf. If a plant leaf is green, then all the colors of the rainbow will be absorbed by the plant leaf except for the green light. Plants have cells that contain particles whose vibrating frequency matches the blue, violet, and red-orange parts of the rainbow. Since the green part of the rainbow does not match the vibrating frequency of the particles in the green plant leaf, it will bounce off the leaf and reach your eyes. This is why many plant leaves appear green to our eyes. So the incident light, the incoming light, let's say this is a little leaf. The light is coming in. Most of it's getting absorbed. But green light is bouncing off. So what we see with our eyes is actually the green light bouncing off and not being absorbed. So pause this video, write some notes for this section, including paraphrasing What is reflection of light? Paraphrase this little paragraph here. Paraphrase and summarize, I should say. All right, pause this video now. All right. Next section, absorption. Absorption occurs when the frequency of the incident light closely matches the vibrating frequency of the particles in a material. When light hits these particles, they absorb the energy of the light and begin to collide, crash into, with neighboring particles more quickly. With enough light, the material begins to feel warm to the touch and can release heat. This is why non-shiny objects tend to feel warm when left in the sun. Stop and think. Why do you think a shiny object will not feel as warm when left in the sun? Pause this video, answer this stop and think question, as well as adding notes. Cool. Hopefully you have your notes and your answer to that stop and think question. Let's move on to transmission. Transmission occurs when light passes through an object or material without being absorbed or reflected. The amount of light that passes through depends on the material that is passing through. Very clear materials like glass let nearly 100% of the incident light through. However, if you make the glass darker, like with sunglasses, some of the light can be absorbed by the glass, thus letting less light through. Stop and think. Why do you think some sunglasses use both dark and shiny glass material? Pause this video, answer this stop and think question. Okay. That is about the end of the independent reading. With your group, create a poster model of your assigned wave interaction. So read through these bullet points with your group, pause this video, and create a poster model. All right, now we can do our gallery walk. So this is going to involve the whole class. Check with your human teacher, of course, and see what you all are doing. But the point of a gallery walk is to record your observations in drawings and in words of the different types of wave interactions you see. So you have your poster, other groups have their poster, and we're just viewing and making observations on all of the posters. You are then recording your observations in your independent work, right in these slides here. So pause this video to complete your gallery walk with your class. Hopefully that was a successful gallery walk and you got to see and make a lot of observations about waves. Now you have some new scenarios, and I'm going to end this video here actually while you cover dolphin echolocation and the energy and matter that go along with it, as well as these like using light and mirror to see objects, this cool stuff here. So that is the end of this video. Make sure you complete that last section, the new scenarios, on your own or with your group. I will see you maybe next year. I'm existing online all the time, every year anyway, but have a great summer, everyone.